again tonight until 3 o'clock this morning. Phone lines are open, 314-436-7900, 1-800-925-1120. We've got a kind of a mix of the serious and not so serious tonight. And, of course, love to hear your thoughts on anything. 314-436-7900, provided you don't call 100 times a night. Or you can call 800-925-1120. Okay? Got to get into Fox News is reporting a potential smoking gun showing the Obama administration spied on the Trump team, the transition team. I have some thoughts on it. I want your thoughts on it. We're not going to get into the weeds on it too much, but I'll tell you. You look at Rachel Maddow last week in Donald Trump's tax returns. That was a complete face plant. All right. She claimed that Donald Trump, that we've got the pages and all this. And she had the best ratings of her life until the next day when they dropped by 50% because there was no story. Found out that Donald Trump paid twice as much in taxes as Bernie Sanders and Barack Obama. No story here. And by the way, Donald Trump gets audited every year by the state of New York. He gets audited every year. The state of New York is very punitive with regard to auditing. If you are a high-profile individual in the state of New York and you are generally considered either conservative or maybe right-leaning, you get audited. That's one of the reasons Rush Limbaugh left New York, because every year he was audited. He pulled up roots altogether from New York because every year they chose Rush Limbaugh to audit. They never do that to most people. They did that to Donald Trump. So you think there is some stuff there that maybe Russian money involved in all that? No. If it were the case, it would have been revealed because they go after him every stinking year. I'll get into the details, some of the details, and get your thoughts on it. Do you think that that by saying there's a potential smoking gun, Fox News is pulling a Rachel Maddow? Or do you think they really have something here? I've got a theory on it. I'll share coming up. And then we'll talk about other stuff that's not political. Now, there is a narrative, and this is a story that I said a couple weeks ago. If you were listening, God bless you. Thank you very much. But I'll go ahead and recap. And I've said this from the get-go. There is a narrative that Donald Trump is an anti-Semite. That is beginning to completely be unbelievable. If it wasn't believable before, the fact that he has a Jewish daughter and a son-in-law who's Jewish, and the fact that he wants to be an ally of the Jewish state, Benjamin Netanyahu, it's very clear that we have a friend in Israel in Donald Trump. It's very clear by this point. And it's not debatable. You look at the 8 years with Barack Obama as the president. Dear God, he went to an anti-Semite pastor. He blew off Benjamin Netanyahu. He signed an Iran nuclear deal that's a joke that puts Israel in danger. I could go on and on. But there is a narrative, and there are these several things that people are throwing at the wall to see if they stick. One of them is that Trump is a racist. One of them is that his Steve Bannon is a white supremacist, which is absurd on the face of it. Are you out of your nut to think that there is a white supremacist, the right-hand man for the president of the United States? If you believe that, you are an ignoramus. I'll just say that, okay? I'm not meaning to just be partisan here. That's inflammatory and absurd on the face of it, okay? And then there are people calling Donald Trump a Nazi. And then when you run out of intellectual ammunition, that's when you start throwing names like racist, anti-Semite, Nazi, whatever. So I have said that during the Donald Trump campaign, people would show up at Trump rallies, and they were bought and paid for by the DNC, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, and others. There's no doubt about that. And they were sent out to Trump rallies to cause fights, to cause fights and to make it look like the Trump supporters were violent, anti-Semite, racists. Okay? None of that was true. They were sent out wholesale to do that. Now, I said, with regard to these Jewish community centers and phone calls with bomb threats, would it be out of the question to think that the people who did those rallies and attempted to disrupt the rallies, the people who set fire to a limousine at the Trump inauguration and wrecked Starbucks windows and all that, would it be out of the question, those people, to further their agenda, to further their anti-Jewish narrative that they tried to create with Donald Trump, would it be out of the question for them to call Jewish community centers on given days and make threats? And by the way, a couple weeks ago, they were alluding to these phone calls coming from abroad. And I said that's a clear indication that these are planted. Well, turns out a 19-year-old Jewish man who used anonymizer software to cover his tracks, no public name yet, he made a number of these threats. There have been more than 150 such threats so far this year, forcing evacuations in 37 states. No bombs were found. They found this guy as a 19-year-old. Israel police spokesman Mickey Rosenfeld said the suspect's motives remain unclear. He said the suspect is the guy who was behind the JCC threats. His defense attorney is saying that he has some sort of a mental disorder, possibly a benign growth in his head that causes him not to be able to tell right from wrong. 19-year-old, dual citizenship, USA, America, Jewish guy, probably a Democrat. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Probably an operative anti-Trump supporter, and he did it. You can disagree with me if you'd like. That's my theory. I've been right so far. And we are proven, once again, that America hasn't become a country loaded with hate because Donald Trump is the president of the United States. Your thoughts are welcome, 314-436-7900 or 1-800-925-1120. We'll get into a little bit on this whole Trump surveillance possibly by the Obama administration after the election through January, and get your thoughts on it, by the way, as well. I'd love to hear what you have to think about it. And I've got some facts I will present and some points that I'd like to share with you. My name is Rob Carson. You are listening to News Radio 1120 KMOX. Stick around. Rob Carson filling in on News Radio 1120 KMOX. An honor and a privilege to be here, guys. I greatly appreciate being on the radio. Mr. Steve Moore has allowed me to spend some time on this great radio station, and it's a thrill. It is a thrill for me. Got a lot of stuff to get to. I want to get into the possible smoking gun showing the Obama administration spied on the Trump transition team. Now, there's a twist to this. We heard that there was some incidental, I guess, surveillance. It was incidental. They were surveilling other people. There's a twist on that. I'm going to share it in a few minutes. And if this blows up, they're either going to do Fox News is either going to do a Rachel Maddow faceplant, or this is going to be Blockbuster. I'll explain why I think it could be Blockbuster. That's coming up in a few minutes. So we'll get to that. Right now, though, we do have somebody on the phone who wants to comment. Been listening to the show the last few nights. Donna in Festus. Good evening, or say good morning to you, Donna. What's going on?
Hi, Mr. Carson. Last night, it got too late for me to call, but you made a comment. It was a pro-life comment. That's something that actually everyone knows. Abortion obviously denies a life, but it is something that no one seems willing to say anymore. And I thought it was courageous of you to just actually come out and say it.
Well, Donna, a lot of the times people on the left side of the political equation, they have bumper sticker logic, which means that their argument is about as deep as a bumper sticker saying, coexist. You can't coexist with people who want to kill you. Another thing is keep your laws off my uterus. Well, your uterus can contain another human being. So I decided to combat that by saying I'm pro-life because I was a fetus. Now, that may sound like a bumper sticker, but it's much deeper than the argument for abortion. But go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
Well, it's just that nobody is saying it anymore because it's inconvenient for us to think of that as a life, because a baby can be an inconvenience, but it's still a life, and it's still a life that's being denied.
Yeah. Well, it is, Donna, and like I said, you and I were fetuses. I brought this up last night because this cute little blonde conservative pundit, Tammy Lauren, who was working for the Blaze. And the reason why she's popular is because she can put together a reasonable thought. And she's really hot, and she's 24 years old. And and last night she exposed herself, I should say on The View earlier, last week, I believe, she exposed herself for the 24-year-old who has a lot of learning to do, rather than being some sort of a conservative icon as a cute little blonde 24-year-old. And she said basically...
When you go on The View, you're not very conservative.
No, you can be conservative on The View. There have been a variety of people on The View. Ann Coulter's been on The View. Others have been on The View and survived. But she talked like a typical young person who hasn't thought through what abortion means. And, she was mentioning that, if I'm going to be I want to keep the government out of my guns, and I want to keep the government out of my whatever. I want to keep the government out of my uterus, and that's stupid, because your gun doesn't harbor the life of a human being until gestation is finished. You have the gift of having a child in your womb. You are a host. It is a sacred thing. Your body is a host to another human being. It is not like any of these other arguments with government being involved. It's not anything like that. And I don't like to pound. People are afraid to pound the pro-life gavel. But by God, I was an adopted kid. My mother could have aborted me, and she faced ruin. It was 1965 when I was born. She was a college student. She left the state where she was in Ohio as a student. She went to Nebraska to have me, and she had me. So that's why I'm pro-life. Any child in the womb, it's not their fault that they were created, but by God, they should be able to live. So I hope that's not too preachy, Donna. Go ahead.
I'm glad she had you, and I just admired you for having courage to say stuff that other people don't seem to want to hear.
Well, I can't get over the fact that I am living and breathing because my mother allowed me to live and breathe. Why would I deny that to somebody else? Why would I deny that? Donna, God bless you, my girl. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Do appreciate it. It's all right. You know what? I don't care if it offends you. I really don't care. I don't care if it takes you off. I don't care if it makes me look like some sort of a zealot for, allowing a fetus to become a human being like you who it's fine for you to be alive, but that other kid is just a pile of flesh in the womb, a pile of cells in the womb. And like I said, this isn't a religious thing. I mean, I'm a Christian, but by God, if I was allowed to live, why in the heck not somebody else? This is typical leftist logic. It's this is for you, but I have a different standard. All right. For instance, I survived the womb, but too bad for you. I live in Washington, D.C. I have a job that will guarantee me a lifetime pension. You go ahead and you work your job, and you if you get fired, it doesn't matter. I drive in a limousine, motorcade. You drive a crappy little car that's dangerous. I live in a giant mansion. You use crappy light bulbs that are poisonous. And I've been saying this for years, but it starts with the pro-life thing. If you live and breathe, and you were originally a mass of cells, then by God, you should support that mass of cells that you were to live. Okay? And there are some exceptions. I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to discuss this again. But Donna, I do appreciate your thoughts on this. Your thoughts on it are terrific. I am absolutely unabashedly pro-life. By gosh, and I'm not going to give that up. Not going to give that up. Okay, like Rick Astley, never going to give you up. Never going to let you down. Fetuses. All right. I want to get into a little bit on this smoking gun that Fox News is saying is happening. Republican congressional investigators expect a potential smoking gun establishing that the Obama administration spied on the Trump administration team and possibly the president-elect himself. Apparently, by tomorrow, we're going to find out if this happened or not. We heard Republican Committee Chairman Devin Nunes yesterday say that some incidental surveillance may have happened. Now, Catherine Herridge on Fox News had this to say about how incidental could allow the United States to spy on Americans using the guise of going after foreign nationals.
Another hypothesis under consideration, according to the congressional staffer, is based on, quote, reverse targeting, an illegal practice where a government targets its citizens under the guise of surveilling a person overseas.
Okay. So we had some of that, and I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this. But could it be that the Obama administration, and listen, this was just surveilling of the transition team, all right? This was just surveilling of the transition team, using the guise of looking at foreign nationals with the goal of spying on transition team members. Is that a possibility? Your thoughts are welcome. 314-436-7900, 1-800-925-1120. I'm Rob Carson on News Radio 1120 KMOX. All right, Rob Carson filling in once again on this glorious Friday morning in St. Louis on News Radio 1120 KMOX. Make sure to, if you get a chance, to check out the website, Rob Carson Show, Facebook at Rob Carson Show as well. If you don't know who I am, and I'm sure you probably don't, I am a radio show host. I am a live video and audio podcaster, syndicated comedy writer, and I also have about 100 cooking videos on the web. If you ever listen to the Rush Limbaugh Show over the last 25 years, I've written a lot of satire for Rush. So, and he's still running it, by the way. He's still running it. So if you want to check out any of those things, just go to Facebook.com, Rob Carson Show, or RobCarsonShow.com. So Fox News is saying that there's a smoking gun. There's an insider in the Capitol who's saying that the Obama administration had surveilled, incidentally, the Trump campaign, but actually it was the transition team, okay? And also, there was the unmasking of selected U.S. persons whose names appeared in the intelligence that was discovered. Again, I don't want to make this too into the weeds, but unmasking people with regard to this incidental intelligence, and if they are Americans, that's, I don't know if that's illegal, but it's wrong to do it. Now, I'm just going to pose this to you. If there was incidental surveillance of the Trump campaign and something was found, don't you suppose that the incidental surveillance would have happened during the campaign and not during the transition? I think that there was surveilling of the campaign, and Donald Trump said that he said that the Trump Tower was wiretapped. I think that there was a lot of these shenanigans. Yes, I said shenanigans during the campaign, because there were allegations that the Trump campaign had colluded with the Russians, and they were trying to draw a thread together, and that started a long time ago. Okay, nothing was found during the campaign. Nothing was found while the campaign was happening. However, the surveillance continued from November after the election through January. My thoughts on this, and if you've seen a lot of things, the Obama administration did everything they could to, I think, sabotage the new Trump administration. Barack Obama is staying in Washington, D.C. He has an office in the Capitol. And I think he is trying to protect his legacy. And I don't doubt that there was, using the guise of incidental surveillance, a surveillance of Trump transition team members to sabotage the Trump presidency in its infancy. If you disagree, please. 314-436-7900. Again, here's Catherine Herridge of Fox News talking about it.
Another hypothesis under consideration, according to the congressional staffer, is based on, quote, reverse targeting, an illegal practice where a government targets its citizens under the guise of surveilling a person overseas.
Okay. Now, we saw Michael Flynn speaking to the Russian ambassador. That was released. That was shared. Should not have been shared. He was exposed, and he shouldn't have been. Were they using the guise of surveilling Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak to surveil Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. He had to step down. He's done with the Trump administration. All right. Those are my thoughts. I know it's a little heavy duty for, 1:36 in the morning, the time that I'm normally sleeping in the guest bedroom because my snoring makes my wife tell me to leave the master bedroom. One more thought. Here's Charles Krauthammer's thoughts on what has been said and what has still not been said.
So much about the Nunez report that we don't know. We don't know what kind of communication was intercepted.
Yes.
Whether I assume it was legal. I assume, therefore, it involved a foreign person. It's, for example, an ambassador. He told us it had nothing to do with the Russians. Mm-hmm. So, and this is not new. We have known, number one, that the idea that Obama ordered the tapping of Trump, there's simply no evidence for that. Uh-huh. There has also been a second story that we have talked about.
But there may have been incidental surveillance of foreign operatives, and it just so happens that they were talking to people the Obama administration wanted to surveil in the Trump administration. Again, I know it sounds like I'm getting in the woods, but I think it's a possibility.
Continually, which is that there appears to have been, for sure, illegal, if not illegal, improper unmasking of Americans. We know that is so because of the Flynn unmasking.
Yes.
What we didn't know until today is, did that apply to others? Did that involve wiretaps that did not involve the Russians? We now know that is yes. But we don't know if this is listening in on Trump operatives, on Trump himself, or whether it's chatter by others about the Trump transition.
Using the guise of surveilling foreign operatives. Okay. I've said what I wanted to say about this. I know it's pretty heavy duty for 1:38 in the morning. I've just been sitting on it, and I got to. I'm fascinated by politics. I'm fascinated by other stuff, but this is going to get interesting. James Rosen says there's a smoking gun. We'll find out tomorrow. We'll find out if Fox News does a faceplant like Rachel Maddow on Donald Trump's tax return, or if there's something to this. And if there's something to this, it's going to get all sorts of freaky, all the president's men. Okay. Did you hear that the Illinois House turned down the possibility of a holiday for Barack Obama? Apparently, some lawmakers decided to get together, said they were going to close every year facilities, schools, and the whole deal on August the 4th. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, honestly, okay? Who else comes from Illinois, presidents? Who was born in Illinois? I think Ronald Reagan was originally from Illinois, grew up in Iowa, I believe. And who was the guy, gosh darn it, who was the guy who was the president that was in charge of the country during the Civil War and kept the Union together? What was his name? I think he's buried in Springfield. I'm not sure. But there's not a holiday for Abraham Lincoln. But some doofuses decided they wanted to make a holiday in Illinois where they closed down the schools and government offices for Barack Obama's, please. Okay. They wanted to do it. It's been voted down, apparently. The House measure received 54 votes, 6 votes short of what needed to be approved and sent to the Obama's old stomping grounds in the Illinois Senate. Representative Sonia Harper, a Democrat from Chicago, used a parliamentary move that will keep the measure alive for another try. See if she can get enough support. That's what Illinois needs, another day off. A dozen members of the House did not vote. She says President Barack Obama did great work for the state of Illinois and our country, and I believe we need to do a part in preserving that history. I mean, he did. I mean, think about the murder rate in Chicago under Barack Obama's presidency after being a community organizer. I mean, he focused a lot of time and attention on Chicago and violence in the inner cities. Well, wait, no, actually, he didn't. He did. 4,000 people died. And also I might mention that the unemployment rate in African Americans, twice the national average. The economy was flat. Your health care premiums went up. Your deductibles went up. Other than that, yes, you deserve a day off. You deserve a day off. Okay, sure. Yeah, I think Abe should go first. All right, your thoughts on this and other things, 314-436-7900, 1-800-925-1120. My name is Rob Carson. You are listening to News Radio 1120 KMOX. Hello, Rob Carson filling in once again on News Radio 1120 KMOX, and the phones are lit up. Thank you very much. I'm thinking maybe they want to talk about this incidental surveillance with regard to the Obama administration. Yeah, and all that. Now, I want to talk about the national holiday, or I should say the statewide holiday for Barack Obama that's been proposed. The schools out, public offices closed down. Rich from South Bend, do you want to remind me where Abraham Lincoln was born? Go right ahead, sir. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Lincoln was born in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Spent his childhood in Indiana.
Yeah.
If you add up the years, he spent more time in Kentucky and Indiana than in Illinois.
Yeah, but his first elected office was in Illinois, just like Barack Obama.
Yeah. Okay. Now on this surveillance thing, first of all, you call the Russian embassy. Your phone call is going to be taped.
Yes.
And if anybody knew that he had no expectation of privacy, was retired General Flint.
But at the same time, no, not the case. You should not be able to reveal the American involved in that conversation. If you are surveilling a foreign entity, there is a thing called unmasking. That is improper, okay? And that unmasking happened. That unmasking happened. Now, there were a lot of calls, and there's a lot of Democrats who were in touch with the Russian embassy. It happens all over the place. There have been connections with the Hillary administration, but the only ones who were unmasked were people who were involved with the transition team with Donald Trump. Go ahead, Rich.
It wasn't unmasked to the press. It was the NSA telling the CIA and the FBI, not the New York Times. That is perfectly legal.
Then how did it get to the New York Times?
Because somebody in the White House ran his mouth.
The White House. Okay. All right. Well, there are a lot of holdovers from the Obama administration who are trying to sabotage or slow down the Trump agenda. But, Rich, I do appreciate your call, and I do appreciate you reminding me that Lincoln was born in Kentucky. But, yeah, very similar. You know what I'm talking about. I don't believe I think there's a holiday. Let's go to Judy real quick in Litchfield. You say there is a state holiday for Lincoln. Is it our businesses, or I should say our government offices closed down for that, or what?
Yes, it is celebrated every February the 12th. That's his birthday.
Okay.
And state offices are closed, as are most other governmental offices. I don't have children in the school system anymore, but when they were in school, it was also a school holiday.
Do you think that Barack Obama deserves a holiday where state offices and schools are closed?
You know, I really don't have an opinion on that.
Okay. All right, Judy. Thank you very much. I appreciate your heads up there. Thank you. I don't live in Illinois, so I appreciate your input here. Chris in Milwaukee. Hello, Chris, and welcome to News Radio 1120 KMOX. I'm Rob Carson. Your thoughts, my friend?
Oh, Rob, I just want to say, first of all, you got a great show in that. I used to listen to you in Milwaukee as well, and also, too, I got mixed emotions about the Obama holiday, too.
Yeah. Well, I've done some time on TMJ up there. Unfortunately, they passed me over for the job.
I know.
So, I don't know. But listen, sorry. As far as yes, he's the first African-American, half African-American president. I get it. That's great. But if you look at the record overall, foreign policy, economy, the whole deal, day off, I don't think so.
Just going to merge it with Lincoln's birthday or something like that. That'd be better, I think. Yeah.
Listen, we've got a President's Day.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. And my God, my kids just got off a one week spring break, and before they had teacher conferences. We got enough days off. Damn it, they got enough days off.
Isn't that true? I know.
All right, dude. Have a great evening. What are you doing up this early, by the way, Rich or Chris? Oh, he drops off. I just wondering what he's doing. Kind of curious. All right, let's move on. I want to move on to some other stuff that's not political. Can we do that? My producer says no. Can I just play one more thing that's kind of political? It's just Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi said, let me see if I can find this. Oh, yeah, Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi was just asked a simple question by Anderson Cooper on Tuesday. Who's the leader of the Democrat Party? And the only reason I'm saying this, the only reason I'm playing this is because I think she had a mild stroke or something. I'm not sure exactly what happened. She really kind of lost it. And I'm just going to play that. Then we're going to move on. And we're not going to talk about political stuff. All right? I promise you this time. Here's Nancy Pelosi when asked, who's the leader of the Democrat Party?
Who is the leader of the Democratic Party right now?
Well, President Obama was the president of the United States until just a matter of weeks ago. I don't think that he can be dismissed as the leader of the Democratic Party. Hillary Clinton did not win the election, but a respected leader. But we have...
How are they still leaders of the Democrat Party? They're not in office. I don't know.
We have leaders for all different aspects of it. The Democratic Party is a congressional party, and we have leaders in Congress. It is a gubernatorial party. And
but on the state level, it is a party which has suffered tremendous losses in the last couple of years.
Pretty bad.
It has, but we have a plan to address that.
So there's not one standard bearer for the...
Yeah, I think she's going to start losing it here in a second.
That you see as the leader of the Democratic Party.
Well, we're not in a presidential time.
Just finally, when you think about 2020, when you think about the next presidential race, I mean, how... Do you think Donald Trump is going to make it 4 years? Do you think...
I don't know. It's up to him. It's up to him if he obeys the law. But I'm not thinking of 2020. I'm thinking of 2018, a matter of a year and a half from now, but almost a little more than a year and a half from now, the first referendum on Donald Trump will come forward.
Okay. Had some issues there. Okay. Now I'm going to promise you we're not going to talk about more political stuff. The next hour, we are going to be talking about other things. I had mentioned this earlier. You know, we had a zero tolerance policy story earlier with regard to a little boy in the St. Louis area, in Troy, actually, who brought a little .22 caliber shell casing to school. He was suspended for 7 days from school. When I find out the name of this preschool, I'm going to call him out because everybody there should be fired. for doing this. Here's another story, though. This is pretty funny. Wisconsin, and by the way, we did get a call, Chris from Milwaukee. A Wisconsin Lutheran school principal has suspended a girl for 3 days. This girl had these little toys that they sell at like the Five Below, called the water snake wigglies, and the principal mistook them for sex toys. Who has the problem here? Here's the story from WTMJ.
In your wildest imaginations, no adult could possibly view this as a sex toy. This is a water-filled bag.
I just learned something that I shouldn't have.
Frances Holbeck tells us she was trying to make $1 profit off of every water snake wiggly she sold. She saw online they've been used for...
I think the principal's using it the wrong way.
...children with autism.
It just calms you when you touch it. You squeeze it. It's cold, and it's...
Maybe not so much.
...hard to hold sometimes.
She claims she had permission from her homeroom teacher to sell them between class at Trinity Lutheran School on Geneva Street. A week later, on February 9th, she was pulled from her basketball game by the school's principal.
And it was like really, really loud, and a lot of people could hear it. People were staring at me.
Yeah. She immediately went home to tell her dad, Milt.
12-year-old approached by the principal saying, stop selling sex toys, even though they're not.
The principal accused her of selling sex toys. She was suspended for 3 days.
I started crying.
It's nuts because she's an adult. She should know better. She should know that this has...
I wonder what the principal uses a rubber ducky for.
Nothing to do with sex.
The school's pastor tells us this issue went before the school board, who sided with the principal.
The school board sided with the principal. They're not using the thing the right way.
We wouldn't discuss the details of any situation regarding one of our children. I mean, they're all minors.
The father says he won't stop until his daughter's record is cleared.
The spirituality of that place is busted. Something's got to change there.
Yeah.
And we're powerless to do it.
I think it kind of exposes the administrators. It really does. If you look at this toy, and I've seen these things before, they're a tubular water thing, and they're hard to hold on to. I think it exposes a lot about the the Lutheran administrators there. I'm Rob Carson, last hour of this radio program. On the way, I'm Rob Carson on News Radio 1120 KMOX. Stick around, guys.